Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into a real treasure trove of combat knowledge. Bas Rutten's Big Book of Combat Volume 2. Forget those skim-the-surface reads. We're going deep into a vast collection of fighting techniques, from joint-twisting submissions to dynamic stand-up combinations, and even, how to make the most of a tied banana bag.
Exactly. This book is, well, remarkable for its breadth. You'll find comprehensive coverage of ground fighting with all sorts of submissions like chokes, neck cranks, arm locks, leg locks, stuff like that. But it doesn't stop there. Rutten also dedicates significant attention to the often overlooked but crucial elements of reversals and escapes, which he rightly emphasizes as being paramount,
Right.
as well as the art of transitioning smoothly between striking on your feet and grappling on the ground.
Okay, so it sounds like this isn't just about going on the attack. It's like a holistic approach to being prepared for a fight, no matter where it goes.
Precisely. The core of the book emphasizes a well-rounded skill set. It's not solely about how to impose your will offensively, but equally, if not more importantly, about how to navigate and escape perilous situations. Rutten constantly highlights the importance of identifying vulnerabilities and seizing opportunities created by your opponent's mistakes. It's a very strategic and intelligent approach to combat.
And what struck me flipping through the pages is the sheer level of detail. We're talking about step-by-step instructions accompanied by photographs for each and every technique. It's almost like having a personal instructor right there on the page, guiding you through each move.
Yeah, the visual component is invaluable. It really allows you, the listener, to grasp the mechanics of each technique in a way that words alone often can't convey.
Totally.
And sprinkled throughout the book are these really insightful quotes, like that powerful one from Muhammad Ali about a champion needing inner fortitude, skill, and stamina. It gives you a real sense of Rutten's underlying philosophy about what makes a truly effective fighter.
Absolutely. And Rutten himself puts a huge emphasis on endurance. He essentially says that even the most technically brilliant fighter will be in trouble if their stamina gives out.
Right.
A less skilled but more resilient opponent can definitely capitalize on that. It's a great reminder that physical conditioning is, well, the bedrock of all these techniques.
It perfectly illustrates that knowing the techniques is only half the battle. You need the physical capacity to execute them effectively, especially as a confrontation extends. It raises the question, how do you ensure you have the reserves to apply these skills when it really matters most?
So our mission for this deep dive, which you've already signed up for by tuning in, is to distill some of the core concepts and explore a few illustrative techniques from this substantial book. We want to provide you with a solid understanding of Rutten's combat philosophy without getting, bogged down in an overwhelming level of detail. Ready to get into the nuts and bolts.
Let's jump in. Chapter 1 delves into chokes and neck cranks, and immediately, Rutten establishes the fundamental objective of these techniques, to either disrupt the opponent's airflow or force a submission through the controlled hyperextension of the neck.
Sounds pretty direct. He highlights the effectiveness of side chokes and triangle chokes. What's interesting to me is his focus on the setup. It's not just about clamping down, is it? It's about creating the opportunity first.
Precisely. Rutten emphasizes that the secret to successfully applying these submissions lies in creating diversions and exploiting openings. You need to subtly shift your opponent's focus, even momentarily, and that's your window to initiate the choke.
Ah, okay.
It's a very strategic and thoughtful approach to gaining that crucial advantage. This reminds us that in any confrontation, creating that opportune moment is often more critical than just brute force.
And he makes a really important point about learning these techniques for self-defense, even if your intention isn't to be the one initiating the attack.
Exactly. Understanding how these techniques function offensively provides you with an essential awareness of how to defend against them.
Right.
Recognizing the telltale signs of an incoming choke or neck crank and knowing how to react appropriately is a critical aspect of self-preservation,
All right, let's get specific. The book outlines numerous chokes. Let's start with the rear naked choke. It's a staple in combat sports for a reason, right?
It is indeed a highly effective technique. Rutten describes it as maneuvering your right arm around the opponent's neck, securing your right hand onto your left bicep, and then applying pressure to create a blood choke. However, he also includes a clever detail. If your opponent attempts to defend by tucking their chin tightly, what he playfully terms Bas Rutten's jaw in throat, the counter is to push their jaw downwards onto their chest, effectively opening up the airway again. It's a fantastic example of anticipating a common defense and having an immediate answer.
Talk about being one step ahead. What about the cross-face neck crank? That sounds, well, quite forceful.
It is certainly a technique that aims to quickly end a confrontation. Rutten instructs you to maintain a low stance, position your right foot near your right hand for stability, grip their head and neck, and then apply a cranking motion to the left using a cross-face technique.
Okay.
The leverage comes from pulling their head towards you while
Yeah.
simultaneously driving it forward with your upper body. It's all about maximizing that rotational force on the neck.
Moving on to the triangle choke from guard, that always looked like a complex maneuver to coordinate. For those who aren't familiar, the guard is a fundamental ground fighting position where the person on the bottom wraps their legs around the torso of the person on top. So from that position, how do you pull off a triangle choke?
It requires precise coordination and control using your legs. Rutten explains that you first post on your head for stability, then secure your opponent by hooking your heels behind their back, keeping that leg lock tight.
Right, tight control.
The submission is achieved by then lifting your hips off the ground in a bridge and pulling your right shoulder back, creating a constricting triangle shape with your legs around their neck and one arm. The tightness of your leg lock is what generates the necessary pressure.
Now, the side mount choke, and for those unfamiliar, side mount is a dominant ground position where you're lying perpendicular across your opponent's torso.
Okay.
Rutten details several variations from this position.
He does indeed, highlighting the versatility of attacks even from a seemingly controlled position. One variation involves using the weight of your neck to pin their right arm, then using your left hand to push their right arm further to your left.
Okay.
As you shift your weight, you slide your head down their right arm until it presses into their triceps, all while posting your right foot out to prevent them from rolling. It's a very positional and suffocating choke. Another variation involves bringing your right leg over their chest and using your left hand to pull your right foot back into their throat, while simultaneously pushing their left arm down and maintaining a tight leg lock and driving your hips forward. That's an incredibly tight variation.
Wow.
And yet another involves bringing your right leg over their head, bringing your left leg up to secure it, hooking your right foot with your left leg, and then pulling their head down to complete a triangle choke from that unexpected angle.
Yeah.
It really underscores the layered nature of grappling multiple threats from the same foundational position.
It truly illustrates how a skilled fighter sees multiple pathways to a submission, and there's even a neck crank from guard. How does that one unfold?
Starting with your opponent contained within your guard, you first look to create space and stretch them out by driving your hips downwards. Then, you use your left hand to establish a crossface, controlling their head, and then slide that left hand underneath their left cheek. The final movement involves falling back, trapping their head securely between your legs, hooking your feet together for leverage, and then extending your legs straight to apply the submission. It's a powerful application of leg leverage to target the neck.
Okay, those are some of the attacks. But as we've discussed, a crucial aspect of Rutten's approach is defense. The book dedicates significant attention to escapes. Let's start with escaping the neck crank from guard when your opponent is trying to control your head.
Rutten's advice here is remarkably simple, yet effective. Focus on your hips and rotate them outwards to your right.
Just the hips.
Yeah, he explains that this seemingly small adjustment in your core body position can significantly alleviate the pressure on your neck, creating a window for further escape maneuvers. It highlights how subtle shifts in body mechanics can have a profound impact in a grappling exchange.
And what about the strategy for escaping a neck pull?
For a neck pull, Rutten advises focusing on your opponent's left hip. The counter involves bringing your left leg up and over, then crossing your feet. This disrupts their balance and leverage, making it harder for them to maintain the neck pull and allowing you to regain a more neutral or advantageous position.
And finally, let's touch on another technique for escaping a side choke. What's the key element there?
In this scenario, the initial move is to use your left hand to peel their left hand off your forehead, creating a crucial bit of space.
Ah, create space.
With that space established, you then insert your right hand in, grabbing the back of your own head for stability and leverage. Rutten does mention that this momentarily exposes one of your veins, but he suggests that if you remain calm and don't tense up, it should be a manageable risk in order to achieve a better defensive posture.
Fascinating insights in just the first chapter. Let's transition to chapter 2, arm and wrist locks. As we touched on earlier, the primary focus here is on gaining control of the opponent's arm and wrist to achieve submissions.
That's right. Rutten stresses the importance of establishing and maintaining strong control over the opponent's arm and wrist to minimize their ability to escape. He also brings up an interesting observation about the role of fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
He posits that as a fight progresses and an opponent becomes more tired, their defenses can lapse, making armbar submissions increasingly viable. It suggests that sometimes simply weathering the storm and waiting for that opportune moment is a valid strategy.
So there's an element of patience involved when setting up these joint locks. Now, let's talk about the foundational armbar from guard. It seems like Rutten presents quite a few variations on this theme.
He certainly does, showcasing the versatility of the armbar from that fundamental guard position. One entry involves placing your left foot onto their right hip while simultaneously gripping their right triceps with your left hand.
Oh.
You then use your right arm to establish a cross face, continuing to drive their right hip down. The next step is to open your legs, swing them over to your left, trapping their head with your right leg. With a tight squeeze of your knees, you pull their left arm straight, elevate your hips in a bridge, and pull their arm downwards to complete the submission.
Got it.
Another variation utilizes your legs to push downwards, extending them and crossing your feet while gripping the right wrist and bridging your hips upwards. He even details a version from the guard where you hook behind their right elbow with your left arm, clasp both hands together, pull their elbow inwards, maintain that tightness, and then bring your left hand over their arm for the lock.
Mm.
And yet another scenario involves their arm being raised. You bring your right leg over their head, secure their left arm with both of your hands, and finish by bridging your hips forward. He even mentions the use of heel kicks as potential strikes to soften them up before transitioning into the armbar from this position. He truly emphasizes the adaptable nature of this submission.
It's remarkable how many different pathways there are to achieve the same fundamental submission. What about an arm lock specifically initiated from side control?
From that dominant side control position, the technique involves maneuvering your right arm over their right arm, securing a grip on your own left wrist, and then applying the submission by driving their arm upwards, crucially keeping their elbow joint bent to isolate the pressure.
The bent arm is key, right?
Absolutely. The bent arm is key to effectively hyperextending the joint.
And what if you find yourself in the mount, that dominant position on top of your opponent's torso, but they're actively trying to push you off? How can you transition that into an armbar?
Rutten provides a couple of clever options. One is to seize their left arm as they attempt to create space to push you away. Simultaneously, you establish a cross face with your right hand, step your leg over their face for control, and then pull their left arm straight to achieve the submission.
Nice transition.
He also mentions transitioning to a figure 4 arm lock in this situation. And if the initial arm lock isn't immediately successful because their leg isn't fully controlled, he advises staying tight and immediately transitioning to trapping their head with your legs and applying a neck crank as a secondary threat.
Wow, a bonus submission.
Yeah. He presents another variation from the mount where you go over their right arm with your right arm, clasp your left wrist, and submit them by driving their arm upwards, again ensuring that the elbow remains bent. And there's even a sneaky technique where, from a mount triangle choke position, you can simply seize their free arm at the elbow and apply hyperextension.
These transitions highlight the fluid and opportunistic nature of grappling. Now, let's talk about how to get OT of these holds. What's an effective armbar escape if your opponent has you locked in their guard and is attempting the armbar?
One escape Rutten details is to aggressively lean forward, transferring your entire weight onto their legs. Simultaneously, you slide your right hand down to grip your left bicep for a stronghold, place your left hand behind their left knee to disrupt their base, and then swing your right leg around to your left side.
Okay.
Once your right leg is clear, you drop your weight into the side mount position, effectively reversing the dominant position. It's all about disrupting their stability and creating a more advantageous situation for yourself.
Makes sense.
Another escape involves maintaining a tight connection with your left foot against their leg to prevent them from posting their right foot, reaching over to grab their left shoulder with your left arm, elevating your hips in a bridge while turning your body to your left and rolling your opponent over, ultimately landing back in their guard. He even describes a very technical escape from a mount armbar attempt that involves maintaining a strong grip to prevent the arm from being straightened, executing a high bridge and rolling backwards, which often causes the opponent to lose the armbar, allowing you to end up in front, control their legs, and establish a strong top position.
It sounds like a keen awareness of your opponent's weight distribution and maintaining a strong base are critical for successful escapes. What if an armbar is poorly executed? Can you capitalize on that?
Absolutely. Rutten points out that if an armbar is applied incorrectly or lacks proper control, you can immediately seize their exposed arm and transition into a figure 4 arm lock yourself.
Turn the tables.
Exactly. And if you still can't secure the armbar due to insufficient leg control, you can swiftly transition to trapping their head with your legs and applying a neck crank. It's all about recognizing those vulnerabilities and having a secondary attack ready.
Chapter 3 shifts our focus to leg, foot, and ankle locks. This is often seen as a more specialized and potentially dangerous area of grappling, isn't it?
It is indeed considered a more advanced area, and Rutten himself acknowledges that. He emphasizes that these submissions target the lower body, often catching opponents off guard who are primarily focused on defending their upper limbs.
Right.
However, he also issues a strong caution against training leg locks without proper supervision and care, as the potential for joint injuries is significantly higher.
That's a really important safety consideration. So, even if someone doesn't intend to become a dedicated leg lock specialist, what does Rutten advise learning from this chapter?
His recommendation is to at least develop a foundational understanding of common leg lock positions and, crucially, how to defend against them. Even a basic awareness can be invaluable in preventing yourself from being submitted by a leg lock.
Let's delve into a specific technique, the heel hook. This is definitely one of the more talked about and feared leg locks.
It is a powerful submission when applied correctly. Rutten begins by describing the initial heel hook control position. From there, you elevate your hips in a high bridge to bring their left leg onto your chest and then use your right hand to push their leg towards your left.
Okay.
Simultaneously, you reach down and grip the inside of their right knee with your right hand and then pull their left leg towards your right, securing their toes under your biceps. As their heel becomes exposed, you secure it with your left forearm and grip your left hand, pulling their foot upwards.
Got it.
While maintaining that upward pull on the heel, you press your left leg downwards for enhanced control, and for even greater control, you swing your left leg over their body. The final steps involve stepping up onto your right foot for leverage, continuing to control their head, securing their heel with your left forearm, falling backwards while keeping your left leg positioned over their right hip for maximum control, and then applying the submission by pulling their heel backwards. It's a very intricate and biomechanically devastating submission.
It sounds incredibly effective and, as you said, requires a high degree of precision. What about the knee bar? That's another fairly common leg lock that targets a major joint.
Rutten describes a knee bar, starting from the guard position. You initiate the technique by dropping backwards and securing their left foot against your neck for control. Then, you allow them to roll until their knee is positioned directly over your stomach.
Right on the stomach.
At this point, you lock your right leg over their left leg to prevent their escape. The final step involves rolling onto your right side, crossing your legs tightly for maximum leverage, and then applying pressure to the knee joint to elicit the submission. He also mentions a variation where you place your right foot over their left leg, bring your feet together for a tighter lock, and then execute the knee bar.
And finally, let's talk about the toe hold. It seems there are a few different approaches outlined in the book as well.
Yes, there are several variations. One technique involves a scenario where their left leg is positioned across your right leg. You grip their toes firmly with your right hand, slide your left arm underneath their leg, and secure a grip on your own wrist for added strength.
Wrist grip. Okay.
Then, you lower your right knee to the floor for stability. Squeeze their left leg tightly between your own legs for enhanced control and leverage. And while keeping their toes in a fixed position, you elevate your left shoulder upwards until they submit.
Uh-huh.
Another technique is more direct, involving simply grabbing the leg with your right hand and pulling backwards, then securing with both hands and falling back to finish the hold. There's even a version where you grab their toes with your left hand and pull them to your left, while simultaneously driving their heel to your right to create that twisting pressure.
Different angles.
Exactly. He details another variation that focuses on controlling the leg with one arm while using the other to secure a heel hook grip for the finish. The common thread across these techniques is the isolation of the foot and the application of rotational force to the ankle and toes.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in terms of offensive submissions. Now, let's move on to what Rutten himself considers the most critical chapter, Chapter 4, Reversals and Escapes.
Absolutely. Rutten firmly believes that the ability to escape unfavorable positions and reverse them to your advantage is paramount in any combat scenario. His central tenet here is the importance of recognizing and capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes to create opportunities for either a reversal of position or a complete escape.
So it's not always about overpowering your opponent. It's about being strategically aware and exploiting those fleeting moments of vulnerability.
Precisely. He emphasizes the value of unpredictability and having a diverse repertoire of escape techniques. You don't want to become predictable in your movements. You need to have multiple options to draw upon.
Let's start with a common scenario. Your opponent has established control in your guard, and your objective is to transition to the dominant mount position. Rutten outlines a specific reversal from guard to mount. How does that technique unfold? For our listeners, remember the guard is when you have your legs wrapped around your opponent's waist while you're on your back.
One effective method involves using your left hand to secure a grip on their right wrist and then pushing their right arm upwards to create an opening. You then slide your right arm over their right arm and clasp your own left wrist for a secure hold.
Strong grip.
Your initial attempt might be to pull their hand downwards to see if a wrist lock is available as a quick submission. If the wrist lock isn't immediately successful, you proceed with the escape. Open your guard, then reestablish your leg lock around their thighs, using your legs to pull them forward and disrupt their balance.
Pull them in?
While maintaining your grip on their arm, you begin to roll to your right, and as you complete the roll, you should find yourself in the dominant mount position. Another variation comes into play if your opponent attempts a drop-back armbar. You maintain a tight grip to prevent the straightening of your arm, execute a high bridge, and roll backwards, continuing the roll to end up in a dominant top position. He describes several other reversals from the guard, often leveraging hip movement, strategic leg placement, and capitalizing on their posture or any attempted strikes.
What about when you find yourself on the bottom and your opponent has achieved the often uncomfortable and controlling mount position? How does Rutten advise you to escape the mount? For our listeners, the mount is when your opponent is sitting on your torso, controlling your upper body.
Rutten suggests that as your opponent attempts to strike, you execute a powerful bridge with your hips to throw them off balance.
Bridge hard.
Immediately following this, you quickly slide your hands underneath their legs, bridge upwards again with force, and use that momentum to pull your body out from underneath them. Once clear, you immediately turn towards your opponent and roll over, effectively reversing the situation and ending up in the mount position yourself. It's a dynamic sequence that relies on creating space and utilizing the power of your hips for leverage and reversal.
The book also details an escape from a right arm hammerlock. That's a position where your opponent has your arm bent behind your back and is controlling your wrist, creating significant pressure on the shoulder. How do you get out of that?
One escape involves maintaining a tight connection with your left foot against their leg to prevent them from establishing a stable base with their right foot. Then, you reach over with your left arm and grab their left shoulder to disrupt their control.
Disrupt the control.
Next, you execute a bridge with your hips while simultaneously turning your body to your left, which often forces your opponent to roll over, allowing you to end up in their guard.
End up in their guard.
From there, Rutten even outlines a combination where you maintain control of their right wrist with your left hand, sit up while keeping their arm controlled, prepare an elbow strike, slide your right hand under their neck, secure a grip on your left arm with your right hand, release their wrist, and use your body weight to apply a side choke.
Wow. Escape and counter.
Yeah. He also provides another escape that focuses on raising your arms high to block any incoming strikes. And as you block, you twist your body to the left, continuing the turning motion to break their grip on your arm, ultimately landing in their guard.
It's amazing how even in a seemingly compromised position like a hammerlock, there are pathways to escape and even counterattack. What about a reversal specifically from side control?
For a reversal from side control, Rutten offers a relatively concise technique. He instructs you to drive your head forcefully towards your left side and maintain that pressure, which often creates enough space and leverage to allow you to shrimp your hips and move into the side mount position on top of your opponent.
Head pressure. Got it.
It's about creating a strong point of contact and shifting your weight strategically.
And finally, for this crucial chapter on defense, How do you escape a rear naked choke if your opponent has managed to secure their hooks and establish the choke?
Rutten provides a straightforward initial escape. Immediately turn over onto your stomach, effectively placing yourself on top of your opponent. This sudden shift in position disrupts their hold and transitions you into their guard.
Quick turn.
He also describes a more involved escape that entails turning and rolling your opponent to your left, crucially maintaining control of one of their arms, and then transitioning to a top position as they land on their back, using your free hand to post on the mat while simultaneously pulling your heel hooks inwards for potential further control.
That covers a remarkable amount of defensive strategy. Let's now move into Chapter 5. Stand up to ground fighting combinations. This is where we see how Rutten bridges the gap between striking and grappling.
Exactly. This chapter focuses on the critical skill of transitioning smoothly from a standing engagement to either a ground submission attempt or establishing a dominant ground striking position. Rutten's primary advice in this area is to maintain simplicity in your approach, utilize strikes as a means of distraction, and immediately capitalize on the takedown by initiating your ground attack.
So, the act of taking someone down isn't the final objective in itself. It's more of a setup for what comes next on the ground.
Precisely. Rutten emphasizes the importance of attacking immediately upon securing a takedown. You want to deny your opponent any opportunity to think, adjust their position, or begin to mount a defense. It's all about seizing that moment of instability and exploiting it decisively.
The book highlights one specific technique in this chapter as an example. Can you walk us through that transition?
It begins with maintaining your forward momentum as you extend and straighten your right leg. You use this leg to execute a trip, disrupting your opponent's balance and causing them to fall.
Use the leg trap.
As they go down, it's crucial to maintain your grip and control. Once on the ground, you immediately establish a cross face with your right arm and secure a grip on their left arm. From this controlling position, you then step your right leg over their head while still maintaining your hold on their left arm, and finally you drop back using your body weight and leg positioning to apply an armbar submission. It's a fluid and dynamic combination that seamlessly integrates the takedown with the submission attack.
It truly highlights the interconnectedness of striking and grappling, how one can set up the other. Finally, we arrive at Chapter 6, Thai banana bag training techniques. For any listeners who might be unfamiliar, what exactly differentiates a Thai banana bag from a standard punching bag?
Unlike a traditional heavy bag, a Thai banana bag is typically much longer, often extending close to the floor. This increased length provides a far more versatile training tool, allowing you to practice a wider spectrum of strikes, including punches, kicks, both high and low, and knee strikes, all at varying heights.
More surface area.
Exactly. This enables you to target different areas of the body, from the head down to the legs.
And Rutten specifically emphasizes the importance of targeting different zones on the bag, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He stresses the importance of focusing your strikes on key anatomical targets, such as the head, ribs, liver, and legs. This not only helps you develop accuracy and power in your strikes, but also conditions you to think in terms of attacking specific vulnerabilities. Target practice. Furthermore, he encourages a diverse range of attacks, moving from head to legs, legs to head, incorporating body shots, and constantly experimenting with different striking combinations to keep your training engaging and comprehensive.
But he also includes a very important piece of advice regarding the limitations of bag work, doesn't he?
He does indeed. Rutten is very clear that while the banana bag is an invaluable tool for refining your striking technique and practicing combinations, it is not a substitute for actual sparring with a live opponent.
Ah, the sparring difference.
Sparring provides essential feedback on your timing, reactions, and ability to apply your techniques against someone who is also moving, defending, and attempting to strike back. It's where you truly test and hone your skills under pressure.
That's a crucial distinction to make. You can develop power and technique on the bag, but the dynamic element of facing a resisting opponent is irreplaceable.
Exactly. The bag helps you build the foundational skills, but sparring is where you learn to adapt, strategize, and apply those skills in a dynamic and unpredictable environment. And as Rutten wisely advises, always remember to approach your training with enthusiasm and a spirit of continuous learning.
Well, there you have it, a comprehensive glimpse into just some of the vast and valuable combat knowledge contained within Bas Rutten's big book of Combat Volume 2.
We've really only scratched the surface of the wealth of information Rutten provides. As you can see, the book offers a truly extensive curriculum, covering everything from fundamental submission holds to critical escape strategies and seamless transitions between striking and grappling.
We really encourage you, the listener, to reflect on how these fundamental techniques and the underlying principles, such as creating and exploiting openings, the critical balance between offense and defense, and the importance of adaptability, might resonate with your own understanding of self-defense or combat sports, regardless of your current level of experience.
And if this deep dive has sparked your interest, the full book provides an incredibly detailed and comprehensive instruction manual with a multitude of additional techniques, variations, and insights to explore. It's really worth checking out.
So, as we conclude this deep dive, consider this. In any endeavor, be it physical, intellectual, or creative, what is the balance you strive for between your offensive and defensive strategies? And how might a more profound understanding of both aspects lead you to a more well-rounded and ultimately more effective approach? It's something to contemplate until our next exploration. Thanks for joining us.